China's insatiable appetite for all things Australian was a love affair we thought would never end. But now an ugly trade war has put it on the rocks. Our lamb export industry, today's latest casualty. Aussies aren't taking too kindly to Beijing's threats and say it's time we stand up to the Asian superpower with boycotts of our own.
It makes me pretty angry, to be honest. It's absolutely disgusting what they've been posting about us.
I don't think they're treating us too well at all, based on what I'm hearing. No.
It's become Australia's most troubled relationship. An aggressive, needling Chinese government all too happy to bully Aussie businesses with bans, trade barriers and online smears.
It reflects badly on China, not Australia.
When it comes to buying some of their products, I would certainly want to protest.
As tensions escalate between the Australian and Chinese governments and the moves and counter-moves continue, many of us are asking two questions. Where does this all lead? And what can we do about it?
I think it is unprecedented in peaceful times. It is extraordinary that a country that has had such a beneficial two-way trading relationship with Australia is choosing to treat Australia in this way. We don't treat any other country this way, let alone such a significant trading partner.
Federal Government Senator James Paterson's criticism of the Chinese government has earned him a ban from visiting the country.
It is a favoured tactic of the Chinese Communist Party to label any criticism of them as racist. So in Australia, we need to be very careful to actually call out people when they are racist, but not mislabel people as being racist when they're simply being critical of the Chinese Communist Party.
Senator Paterson is among a group of MPs who've come together to push back on Chinese aggression. The group calls themselves the Wolverines, borrowing the name from the 80s movie Red Dawn, where a group of US high schoolers fight off a communist invasion.
Wolverines! I think we've been very successful in changing the conversation in Australia, and it's been crucial that it's been on a bipartisan basis.
The group has been particularly active in highlighting China's economic tactics. In recent months, China has placed huge taxes on Australian wine and barley and banned up to 6 beef exporters, some seafood products, and even today 2 lamb producers from accessing the Chinese market. But Senator Paterson says there is a way we can fight back.
Well, the most important thing we can do is make sure that our exporters have as many opportunities to sell their products elsewhere in the world as possible. We need to diversify our trading relationships as much as possible and as quickly as possible.
Young chippy Dylan Mather has been keeping track of what's been going on from his work site in Melbourne.
We should definitely push back a little bit. We can't just be walked over by the Chinese government. We've got to we've got to stand up for ourselves. We can't just let them walk all over us.
Dylan has a different way of responding than the senators. He says he'll have China's recent behaviour in mind when he goes to buy his next vehicle or tool set.
If they're going to insult us like that, then yeah, of course we're going to, not particularly want to buy what they're trying to sell us. So, yeah.
So it will change your purchasing habits?
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
And as we discover, Dylan is far from alone.
I'm seriously thinking of looking elsewhere and insisting that it's not Chinese.
And why is that?
I don't like bullies. I really don't like bullies.
Would it make you less likely to buy a made-in-China product?
Yes, and my husband's the same. He'll pick up something now and go, no, we don't want that, it's made in China.
Businessman Dick Smith has long campaigned for Aussies to support local.
I think the Chinese government is very astute. They're very patriotic and they do everything for Chinese people. That's understandable. What we should do in Australia, we should do everything for Australian people that we can.
He says the upcoming Christmas period provides a perfect opportunity for us to check for the Australian-made label and get behind our companies in spite of the trade war.
If you make that extra effort and support Australian suppliers and manufacturers and ownership, it makes an incredible difference. We have nearly 1 million people out of work, 700,000 people on the dole. So it's important. Make that extra effort this Christmas. It can make a tremendous difference.
But trade isn't the only war being waged by the Chinese government. In September, we got a clearer idea about China's less talked about tactics. A dossier compiled by the Chinese military was leaked and published by the Australian Financial Review. What it showed was that China had been keeping secret intelligence profiles on 35,000 Australians. Finance writer Angus Grigg broke the story.
So there looked to be a real intention to identify these people and then use them to access sensitive information, technology, government secrets, if you like.
Mr. Grigg has been covering China closely and points out the superpower can't afford to underestimate how much they need us for iron ore to help with their building projects.
China's very reliant on Australian iron ore. Efforts to go to Africa and to Brazil haven't really yielded much. China's domestic iron ore supply is pretty limited. So for at least the next 10 to 15 years, you've got to say that China will be very reliant on Australian iron ore.
And as for where this is all going, that's not set in steel. But Senator Paterson says any mobilisation by China is not on the cards.
Look, I don't think there's any threats to Australia's territorial integrity. There's no evidence of that.
But our experts agree on one thing, that the tensions here between the two governments are only going to escalate.
I think there's more legislation coming through the pipeline in Canberra, which is going to annoy China. So, yeah, look, I think there will be a pretty rocky 12 to 18 months ahead.
Well, we're running a poll